and gentlemen.
We are entering a new era here. The first mood-lifting, antidepressant happy plan.
We want rebel music, street music, music that breaks down people's fear of one another, music that knows who the real enemy is.
J'ai fait des films très très différents dans ma vie. Donc, il faut que je vous dise qu'est-ce que c'est qui m'a mené à faire ce travail pendant tant d'années.
Eu vă pot acuza pe dumneavoastră că puneți viața copilului în pericol. Și vă place mai mult aici? E mai liber.
Să moară familia mea dacă nu vedeți plăcă, că mie nu mi-e frică de foc. Du-te că la mintea ta o să ajungi la pușcărie. Eu sunt promisore. Eu vreau să fii copilul model care ai fost în...
Dar nu vreau să mai fiu copilul care am fost, na. Ai făcut 20 de copii și nu ai oferit nimic? Păi dacă mă duce cineva, adică poți să te duci acolo că e baracă și poți să stați înapoi acolo. Mă, știi cum aș pleca?
We are entering a new era here. The first mood-lifting, antidepressant happy plan.
We want rebel music, street music, music that breaks down people's fear of one another, music that knows who the real enemy is.
J'ai fait des films très très différents dans ma vie. Donc, il faut que je vous dise qu'est-ce que c'est qui m'a mené à faire ce travail pendant tant d'années.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Menina Putri. I'm the Festival Co-Director of Europe On Screen 2020. And tonight, in our film talk, we will have a Q&A with the director of the film Acasa, My Home, a film, a Romanian film that we just saw basically like 2 hours ago. And with us tonight, we have the director. Hi, Radu, the director.
Hi.
So, hi, did I pronounce your name right? Radu Ciorniciuc, right?
That's perfect. I've heard words in other parts of the world. This is actually really good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It looks so bright where you are. What time is it now?
It's 1:30 past 1 p.m. in Chisinau, in the Republic of Moldova, where I'm filming my next film. So
So you're starting already with filming your next film.
For 2 years now. Yes.
Wow, congratulations for that. And also congratulations for your film in Romanian Film Festival. I think it was just ended yesterday.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes. It's been going great. I'm really happy about this and honored, to say the least.
Yes. Okay. Before we start, I would like to actually just remind everyone and all our participants tonight about the rule of the webinar. That this webinar is being broadcasted live at the moment in the Europe On Screen YouTube, and then also all the session will be held in English. But if you want to ask the questions in Indonesian language, you can do so, and I will translate them to Radu. And then you can also put the questions at the Q&A button below. If you see in the Zoom, you will see the Q&A button below. You can put your questions there. So yes, we can start probably with how long did you, I know that probably like it takes you like around 4 years to do this film. Yeah, but what was the first inspiration and what that keeps you going and motivated to do this film?
Well, we started 4 years ago. I'm with the thought of making a reportage. My background is I come from journalism, from investigative journalism, and this should have been just a vacation story for me, as I needed something. I wanted to do something about nature and so on, and when I came back from my travels in Bucharest, I just heard that the government was declaring this abandoned green area, this landfill, basically, close to the middle of Bucharest, and they were about to give it one of the highest protection status, and to make it a reservation, basically. So I thought it was an interesting story just to see how they're going to change this place. I vaguely knew about the family, the Enache family. And I just went there with the screenwriter, with Elina Vdovi, just to make some interviews, and and we just we met two of the Enache children, and they introduced us to their father, and our reportage was soon let's say was soon changed into this bigger project, which became a feature-length film. We weren't necessarily thinking of making a long film, but one thing led toward the other, and I mean, the major inspiration for me was the family itself and how they related to each other, their sense of belonging and their identity, and their relationships. And on top of that, it was their relationship with nature, especially the kids' relationship to nature. And when I saw them for the first times, just playing around and enjoying the area, I knew that I needed to learn a bit more on how to tell the story in a way that's not necessarily exotic or exploitative or.
Yeah.
So we decided to go for the long run, and I mean with the purpose of building enough depth to the context of this family story, in order to also to protect them from exposing them in the mainstream, but also to allow us to understand a bit more about themselves, about ourselves, and eventually to create a better understanding to this family's journey, but also to the context in which this family was living. And one result that we didn't plan in the beginning was we weren't thinking of making a film from within the family. We were thinking of making a film about the family. So yeah, it was quite an interesting process. It was interesting because it pushed me to have patience and to learn how to work with patience. You know, in journalism, which is a science of emergency, you know, you always have to deliver. You know, everything needs to be exposed now. So it was a very, very good school of
learning
learning of school for me as well, this whole project. But and you know, like eventually I learned the value of time, of patience, and of how things can settle if you allow them enough space and time. So which creates, I think, a more humane understanding on the life or the realities around us. So this is why I'm continuing to make films now.
Okay. And what was the first reaction of the father? Because in your film, he looks so, you know, he has a very strong character.
He had a very strong character. He was the true patriarch, you know.
Yes.
But we were privileged in many ways, because from 2012 he was already working with the people that manage the campaigners, the NGOs that managed to pull off the you know, reservation status from the government, and he was working with them as a local fixer. He would know every place, and he would take the photographers, and so he was used to working with journalists. So he had this little script, you know, like he would take people by his boat, and he would tell them like some funny stories, and you know, that was his role there, you know, even
like a natural guide.
Yes, he was working closely with the campaigners. So he did the same with us. And then in the second week, when we kept coming, and he was like, "What kind of journalists are you? Like, why do you keep coming back?" and we said, like, Jika, you know, like we want to do a bit, we want to learn a bit more about yourself, and you know, like we knew that the evacuation is going to take place at some point. We were thinking that it's going to be 3 months or 6 months, but Romania is a heavily bureaucratic country, so they only managed to pull off, you know, to succeed in you know, in making this place a reservation after 2 years. So this gave us a lot more time to understand how the family's life looks and evolves in that place before moving to the city. So it was just you know, ups and downs, I would say, in my relationship with the father. But we became close friends at one point. And even though his decisions were very easy to be judged, you know, in terms of like how he chose to live his life and impose the same life to his children. And it wasn't before I became a father myself that I could connect to this radical craziness that this father had, because I understood it somehow, like, you know, like it's very strange, you know, when we become parents, you know, like we do very strange things in order to protect our loved ones. So having this in mind, it was easier for me to create, not to create, but to actually give space for a personal relationship with the father, with his family as well, but with the father first of all. So we became friends, and I was at any point very transparent with what we're doing, with what we're aiming. And when we started the social project Acasa, which was you know, like we gathered some specialists, some very, very young and well-traveled psychologists and social assistants, educators, medics, and so on. And we created this social project in order to help the children and the family have a smoother transition to the life in the city, and to prepare them for a more independent life, for a more socially independent life. So this was, you know, when we told, because I mean, we didn't plan on doing this social project, but one of the boys came to us and told us, look, guys, you know, like Tsirika, one of the characters of the film, he was, I think 10 or 11 back then, and he said, like, look, guys, I'm gonna have to leave soon, you know, like I'm gonna go to work some other place, and I'm afraid that I won't know how to read the signs to come back home, because he never went to school, he never went to, you know, like so we said, like, okay, let's see if we can help these kids read and write, and this would open up the world to them. It's also something that we could give them and that they could benefit for their whole life. So it was quite a big deal for me to, you know, like, so we just posted some, you know, like online message, like we posted on our social accounts, and like hundreds of volunteers joined to help them read and write. Among these volunteers, there were these specialists. But what I want to say is that the first time we told the father, like, look, man, like there's like hundreds of people wanting to meet your kids and teach them how to read and write, and maybe help them go to school, and, you know, maybe like help you guys become a bit more independent to, you know. He said, like, look, man, I'm you know, what do you mean social independent? I am already socially independent. I'm more independent than those people.
Yeah.
So he was, you know, so, but he appreciated that we wanna help his kids, like, on the long term, knowing that he was already very sick. And he was concerned about his family after he's not here anymore. And he was right. Just a bit more than a month ago, he passed away. The father passed away.
Oh no, okay.
Yes. So yeah, it was very shocking. It was very shocking to us as well. But he was expecting this, and luckily, you know, even though he was you know, again, a true patriarch, a radical, and he wanted a better life for his kids. So we had a very good collaboration, like a very good support from him as well. Even though he wanted to go back, you know, like it's like. He used to say this, like, it's like you take a plant from the woods and you put it in your pot in your nice apartment, and 99% of the time that plant dies because it's not, you know, it's uprooted. It's not, it's not in its natural environment anymore. So I guess it was the same case with Jika, but, you know, luckily the family is with the social project, and we published a book also, and we distributed around the country this book, and all that money we invested in the social project. And at one point we managed to raise enough funds to buy them a piece of land and a house, just like 20 minutes away from the park. There's still a lot of volunteer working with the kids. They're doing online classes now, and they're quite well integrated in school. And of course, there's a lot to, there's a lot of work to be done, but I think they did amazing progress. They started from a point where they never, like, so the kids never saw running water. They never had a shower, like with the so from that point and now until now, where they're just normal kids in like with having a normal, let's say normal, integrated activities.
Normal in our definition of normality.
They came a long way. They came a very long way, and I'm really proud of them. What I wanted to say is that like this integration process takes years, and sometimes it takes generations, especially if you come from a minority such as the Roma minority. Like just 150 years ago, they were still slaves in our monasteries. Not to mention World War II, when they were like killed by the Nazis and so on. So you can't expect centuries of abuse to be wiped out in one single generation. There's they need support, and luckily there's still a lot of good people left in our cities and in our communities that are willing to do the work, and to get other people closer to the opportunities that we are being born with. So
yes, for a better living.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. Did the father manage to see the film?
Absolutely.
Before he passed?
He saw it, I think, 3 or 4 times. He was, the first time he had his doubts. He didn't want to say anything to me until the next day when I called him, and he said, like, look, man, it's such a good film, and I loved it, but I don't want to tell you, I don't want to tell you anything about it. Because, anyway, the second time we saw the film, we did the national premiere. We did it in the park, right where we filmed the first part of the film. So it was a beautiful event. Anyway, the whole family came, and the father and the mother, after the screening, came to me and said, look, that they realized that how proud they are and how grateful they are that they're still together, even though in this relatively short period of time, a lot of things happened. There was a constant state of shock and disorientation. So having the whole family there, like everyone, and they were very pleased, I think, and happy that they're still a family. They're still together, which was I think it worked quite therapeutically in many ways, the film, and how it was perceived by the family, and I think it got them closer, which was something that I'm very happy about.
Yes, I think all of us here who watch your film can also feel that closeness, because it shows a lot of great scenes where the kids plays with you, and they allows you to join them in a very personal moments, like when they are taking baths, or when they shows you about the fire with the fishermen and all that, and when they have to sleep in the bench, and also when a lot of personal moments that I don't think anyone would probably share if they don't trust you.
We trusted each other. Yes,
yes.
And this is, like, it wasn't a lot of the time we spent together, we didn't use any cameras, and like I come from a background of writing as well. I used to research non-fiction stories for many months, and I would just hang around with people and basically take my notes, and so we adapted this process for research in this film as well. So because it was quite important for us to have, as the family was the center of the film and the center of my fascination, it was quite important for me to have to create this space, this intimate space, and this intimate atmosphere inside the film. So a lot of the time, I wasn't filming, I was just listening, and I was just talking, and I was just, like, this is how we became good friends as well. The kids, I think we were some of the first white people that would actually spend time with the kids and treat them as, like, as equal. And we would get to these moments where they would have questions like, some complicated, some just naive, like every kid has. And we were the ones that they would ask, and we became friends. We became friends, and this was also very important for our process, for our working process as well.
Yes. This film basically actually resonates well with the situation in Indonesia, where we have also a lot of families, like Indonesia family, who lives also in the areas and then they have to be relocated to other areas in the cities. And sometimes the integration process doesn't work well. Sometimes it works well, like what you said. And yes, and I was just like wondering, because you were also I saw that how you so involved with the family. Do you also having like a hard time to detach yourself, since you are now working on your next project?
Well, it comes with experience, I think. Like, I've been doing tens of investigations and stories in the last year, so all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So in time, you develop some sort of frames that you. I mean, the most challenging part is not to take your work with you when you come back home and like inside your family. So this is,
I agree.
This was always a challenge to me, but it's years of therapy. It's again experience, and I don't know. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's a lot of pressure. Sometimes like things aren't going the way you want. So this puts another layer of pressure on you. But at the end of the day, it's I do this because I love it. I do this because I like to learn from people. I like to get to know them, and it gets easier. It gets easier, and I treat things light. Like the kids are texting me every now and then, and I don't have like it's not like we're not in production anymore, so I can afford having even a better relationship with them right now. So, and I do this with I know like tens of people from my previous stories, and we keep in touch. I'm always interested in how people are getting along after we met, so it's I try to take things lightly. So this is one of my secrets.
Good to know. And how was the reaction of the audience in Romania, in Bucharest especially?
Well, I can't say I wasn't very nervous about showing the film back home, because unfortunately the Romanian society is quite racist one. It's quite especially towards the Roma. So I was expecting a lot more controversy, let's say, in our screenings, and it wasn't the case, which was a true surprise. And I know some hardcore conservative people that joined some of the screenings, and the tears that I saw on their faces at the end of the film were the true achievements of this long work. This is why we do it, to create understanding through empathy. This is you know, so I'm very proud to say that it was very well received, although I wasn't I wasn't hoping for this, you know.
Yeah. Well, I cannot say that we will not have any tears here because I'm sure we will. I just don't know whether our audience, since they are watching your film at home, I'm sure they are all going to prepare some tissues because the films, it's well, for me personally, it resonates very well, especially with the condition in Indonesia. Yes.
Well, it can be tears of joy, you know. Let's not create false expectations. It's not that depressing, guys. It's just
no, it's not that depressing. I think also like what at the end when Rika and Fali was talking about, yeah, that Rika cannot stay in the city. Like, why do we have to eat the concrete? I think it's like, oh wow, that's like a slap in your face. Yes, you cannot eat the concrete. Yes.
You cannot eat concrete. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, I'm very pleased to learn that this topic is relevant, you know, in Indonesia. I'm very happy about this, and hopefully people will enjoy this film, and not only enjoy, but it maybe start some of the important conversations we all need to have in order to have to create a bit to create a more welcoming society for everyone.
Yes, and also like in the part where the social service person, the lady who shows the house, mentioning that being poor doesn't mean that you cannot be a decent person. I think.
Yeah,
that's a really great attitude.
That's a very, I mean, yes, Mihaela was and still is the manager for the social project.
Mm.
She has always been 100% involved, and we were lucky. We were truly lucky to discover that there are and not only us. It was a thing with the, you know, for the kids as well. They were shocked to see that people were actually like listen to them and talk to them, and you know, like people that would normally throw them off the bus or like shout at them in the street, or you know, like, so this gave them a lot of confidence, and they grew a lot, and with them we grew a lot as well. You know, it was a discovery and a learning process for us as well, to discover our own world through the eyes of these amazing children. It was our integration process as well, in many ways.
Okay, now we are going to go to the audience Q questions. And okay, hi Radu, Acasa is such a beautiful film. Thank you for making it. I am impressed by the camera work at the beginning of the film in the river. How did you operate the camera, and how do you plan your shots in general?
I was filming with 4 other kids in a very, very small boat with some very expensive equipment that I just bought from my savings.
Luckily, it doesn't fall into water.
Yes, as a very young reporter, it was very, very expensive. But there were some points, some very strange points. I mean, those afternoons resonate a lot with my personal, you know, like experience. Like, I have a brother. I had a lot of friends when I was young. I used to spend my days in nature, and so it was like in those moments I would have a very strong connection with what was happening around me, and it wasn't the planning as it was the intuition of like following some. At one point you get to know your characters quite well, and you know that one you know, like one thing would click in a certain way in one of your characters, and he would react in a certain way. So it's a lot of it's a lot of work to actually connect to what's happening in that very instance, rather than to plan and to, you know, because the magic only happens when things aren't necessarily planned. So that scene, for example, it was one of those scenes where I would just take my camera and allow myself to be there with those kids and let them do whatever makes sense to them. And and with that, there's it, that fluidity of the camera, which was something that I was aiming for, and all those magical moments came without planning, but with this desire of just being there and being there. That's always a good
Yes, you just follow your instinct and just being there.
Yeah.
And the next question is, hi Radu, what a moving film Acasa My Home is. I was so taken with the family. How did you gain their trust to follow and capture their life? They seem to trust you very well, as they are so comfortable sharing their life in front of the camera. And then also the fish that the family cooked in the beginning looks so very delicious. Is it as delicious in real life as it looks in the camera?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a shot in the film where there's the pan and the fish is frying. That's where I burnt my dead cat on my microphone. So
What?
the microphone just went on fire with that shot, and even though it wasn't the best shot with that fish, I said this is the most expensive shot. So we're gonna have to use it. So it was very delicious. And as I was mentioning before, like it's like in any relationship, you need time to develop a relationship, and the more experiences you live together and you have together with someone, the richer the friendship or the relationship gets. So I realized at one point that it's pointless to have a professional relationship with this family, as we knew that we were going to follow this story for some years. So we had to approach things a bit from a more human perspective rather than a professional one. And I think it worked quite well. This is for me as well, was a learning, and it was also a developing. I developed some, let's say, tools that I now use for my other projects, and it's as an investigative journalist working with people sometimes become evidence, and sometimes the creativeness of what you do in the field is being cut out by the lawyers you're working with and so on. So everything is very strict. The ethics are quite drastic as the effects of intervening, for example, in a story when you're an investigator can lead to legal damages and so on. So from that world and from that mindset, it was quite a challenge, I have to admit, to readapt to this type of working and storytelling. So it was again a very, very useful process for me to think things through my personal and human kind of set of values rather than or ethics, rather than my professional my professional morals, let's say. So again, we tried our best, just be there and be as human as possible, and to treat everyone as equal in our team, in relationship with our characters and so on.
Yes. I'm sorry that you lost your cable, but I'm glad that you didn't cut the fish scene. It really makes me want to eat fish after watching that one. Okay, and the next question is, thank you so much for making such an amazing movie. I would like to ask you, this movie is about a family who have lived in the wilderness of a rare urban ecosystem in Delta Bucharest. And the family is forced to move to the city, and they must learn to conform to the modern society. What does it mean for you cinematically? Thank you so much.
for me, cinematically, what does this whole change?
Yes.
I mean, it's a very strange question, and hopefully I'm gonna give an answer that would make sense. Cinematically, I don't, in terms of the image, and in terms of the visual approach, or in terms of the storytelling. I'm going to start with the storytelling. At one point, because it was very important for us to have a writing system, let's say, to have a treatment that we would adapt, and we would rewrite every time we needed to, in order to have this Bible of the story in our edit room. And it took us 2 years to edit, by the way, and I think we had we had a lot of versions of the script. So at one point, while the family was trying to integrate into the city, it was very clear to us that this film was going to be was going to focus on the relationships of this family, and how they're going to change. As you know, like in the natural environment, it was also a quite pragmatic, let's say, strategy to stick together and always know like where everyone is, and work together in order to survive. And while in the city, as society's one of society's core value is to have independent, productive individuals. And there's this whole talk about independency and social independency in every integration strategy and so on. It was very clear to us that at least some of the family members would have access to more opportunities for a more comfortable life in the city, and that would discourage them to stick to that unity that was essential for their survival, but in the nature. So having this in mind, and having this as a core element in our story structure, we built the whole film around this. In the later stages of the editing, we focused only on Vali and the father, or not only, but we focused more on the older son and the father, rather than the whole family. But this is how it developed, and this is what this is one of the, let's say, truths of this story that I wanted to somehow show, and cinematically in terms of image, we did have it was pretty clear that the city part will have to be filmed in a quite different way than the nature part.
Yeah.
But like we would use more tripods in the city. We would use more like lines, because the reality wasn't governed anymore by nature, but by human rules. But we didn't stress out too much, as everything was so different, and even the kids became more and more different by the day in the city. And it was, let's say, the image was creating itself by its own, in a way, all these differences that we were like in the beginning we were planning to show, and it wasn't necessarily so as everything became so much different, and it was visible. You have a concrete box full of some people that live their whole lives in nature.
Yeah.
It was in a very radical contrast anyway. So yeah.
Yes, I think that's answer the question. And next is, the next question is actually in Indonesian. I will try to translate them. Greetings from Tangerang in Indonesia. Thank you for this beautiful film. It is mentioned that the documentary has been produced for more or less like 4 years. So how many duration of the footage that you get for the whole production, and how did you choose which footage that will go, or the one that should be cut out? Oh wow, that's a hard decision.
That's always a very good question. Always very hard question as well.
Yes.
We in these 4 years we gathered around 300 hours of footage, and again, it was very important for us to have the written treatment and written script, because you never, I mean, and this was a very good lesson for me as well, because I spent like 3.5 years not knowing when the film will be finished. So it was quite frustrating, not to know that. But it wasn't a problem of the events or the events happening in the family, rather than a problem not a problem, but a struggle that we've had when we were writing the film. So I later on understood that that the film is finished whenever the images are matching your direction and your treatment and your script.
Yeah.
So yes, yeah.
Wow, 300 hours. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. This is how it is. This is how.
Yes, it is how it is.
How you make a film like this. I know there are many ways of directing and many ways of shooting a film, and we just chose this one. And I don't know. For my next film, I'm doing things a bit more different, but returning to our previous discussion about the magical moments in your research, sometimes you just need to stay there and film, and even though apparently nothing interesting happens, it's always very interesting, because you're the only one with the camera in a room experiencing that reality, which if not all of the times, most of the time is very interesting for other people as well. So
right.
Yeah.
Just related to the previous questions, did you ever get like this kind of feeling that, oh shit, I shouldn't throw away that scene, or those kind of doubts?
Yeah, of course. This whole editing process is full of doubts. It's excruciating. Like sometimes it's not. I mean, because I have an experience with many stories, I get attached. I'm more get attached to the moments of the actual filming, because I feel certain things, and sometimes, I have tears in my eyes, because I cannot believe that what I see on the screen actually matches what it is inside me, and this is overwhelming sometimes. And these are the moments, that I truly care about, rather than sometimes it just doesn't work out. From 300 hours of footage, you could have made like 20 films, I think. It was the most important one. The most important thing was to actually get the core of why I'm doing this film, and what do I want to say with this film, what I'm learning with this film, and when I reached certain answers, it became a bit it became easier, way more easier for me to accept other ideas that we would have from the editor, from the consultant editors, and so on. So we were just it was quite easy. But this, again, it's process. In the first year, maybe I would have been a bit pissed off for robbing me from my favorite scenes. But at the end, you just it's a maturity process that the project is going through, I think. And this is something that I became very respectful, to. You need to respect the process, and this is, and this would save you from a lot of frustrations, I think. So
this is also what you mentioned in the beginning, that you learn a lot and progress a lot from having this project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're not necessarily coming from a film background or documentary background or anthropology background and so on. I'm used to action, and when I was hearing that there are directors that are spending 2 or 3 or 4 or 12 years on a story, I was like, my God, man, what are you doing there? Like,
Wow.
why? And now I just okay, this is why you were.
And now you understand.
Now I understand, yeah, which is great. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, this is the last question, but I think we have already answered this too in the beginning. From Fanny. Hi Radu, thanks for good movie. I want to ask how response from the Enashe family when this movie was when the movie is finished. Are they excited and happy? And did their family still continue to play in other movie too?
Again, I think it worked quite therapeutically for the family to see itself going through all these difficult times in the last years and still being a family. The kid, I'm not sure they play another film, but they definitely are. They've always been used to cameras, and especially now, there's a lot of other people that recognize them on the streets, and they're very happy and proud about that. And they're very social media savvy, and they share things.
They get so famous.
They're so famous now, and they're quite happy, and I'm sure at least some of them would be very happy to play in other films as well.
Maybe you can before we close it, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your next project, or is it still a confidential?
Yeah, it's not necessarily, or I'm going to leave the confidential parts in another conversation. Maybe 2 years from now, we're going to have a Q&A about that.
Yes, that's true. Maybe another thing will change. I don't know.
Exactly. So this film is a family story happening in a modern day slavery context. It's a film I'm co-directing with the screenwriter of the film, Acasa, Vdovi. It's a very personal film, and it touches some issues that we both were very interested in our journalistic careers. I used to be specialized, and I'm still in modern day slavery issues, especially in Europe. When I was in my 20s, I would go undercover in factories, and I would do work with the other immigrants, and I would expose this in the abuses. So having this experience in our backgrounds, it's very exciting and interesting for us to touch this subject with a story that's profoundly humane, and again, a family story. Don't ask me why I'm very interested in that. It's a family story that tells a lot about how it paints a quite realistic picture on immigrants and working and how working rights are sometimes being abused by the way we built our systems of production and so on.
Yes. Wow. Okay, can hardly wait to see that in the next 2 years. But how can you still, I don't know, how can you still keep on shooting in times like this? Is it okay to do a production now? I mean,
for a long time, no, and especially because this film is most of the film is based in the northern part of Italy, where there was a lockdown, and still is.
Yeah.
It was one of the virus's hotspots in Europe, so it was very hard. Well, we continued to shoot on the let's say on the minimum. Being an investigation and involved, being like some of the main character is also using a hidden camera, so we kept on going, let's say, with the production. We did our best. I mean, we've rewritten the script, which was something that we needed to do at one point, and we used this period of time to get our stuff together and at least prepare for the times then when we're gonna be free to produce. So we just we written other applications like for pitching and so on, and we've edited a lot of the material that was just left in a corner, and so we try to be as proactive as possible in these circumstances. It's not easy, but
Yeah.
I think we need to adapt. We need, in order to survive or help
Yeah.
this industry survive somehow.
Yes.
So but yeah, some are luckier than others, so or are not luckier than others, and I know that a lot of other filmmakers are struggling a lot, and it's not a very happy period for a lot of us.
No, that's true. It's not
but thanks to people like you, and thanks to platforms like the one you're working on, we still have some some communication with the people we're making this film for, and at least we're in touch. So this is a major blessing for our times, for me. So I'm very grateful for your work as well. So thank you so much for bringing us together still. So it's a beautiful thing you're doing there.
Yes, and also thank you for making great films.
Thank you.
We're so happy to actually screen it here in Indonesia. Now, before we end the session, I think the host is actually cueing me to do a photo op together.
Yes, sure.
But I don't know how. I think Neta will actually tell us how to do it. Neta, please.
Hi guys, so please look at your camera and stay still for 1 to 2 seconds to avoid any delay, and I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you, Radu.
Thank you so much. That was weird.
Yes. I know.
I'm sure it's gonna be a great picture. So.
Yes, we will send it to you also with the link. Well, anyway, we are living in a weird time, but I'm glad that you still keep on going and doing this great job. Thank you so much for participating in Europe on Screen.
Take care. Thank you. Stay good health.
You too. Bye-bye. Stay safe. Thank you, everyone, for participating in a Europe on-screen film talk tonight. And we still have a lot of other film talks tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and the day after tomorrow until the end of the festival of the 30th November. Do not forget to book the tickets. All the films are already running out, already sold out. Like half of our films have already sold out now. So please book the tickets. Do not waste your time. Do not delay. Book them. And also join the quizzes. We still have a lot of quizzes until the 13th November. And please be reminded that even though the festival is closed on the 13th November, all the film can still be watched, are still available to be watched until the 5th of December. So make sure you already booked your film. So if you do not press play and you haven't watched it on that particular time, you can still watch it until the next 5 days. Please note that. But if you already press play and then you forgot, you only have 30 hours to watch it again. So thank you so much for joining me. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.
But remain